To be honest, most of my free time this month has been spent either traveling or editing the 2 Daisy Jones videos, so I haven't really watched as much as I would have normally liked to watch, but we are not letting these monthly wrap-ups die on only the 3rd month of the year. Okay, we're doing this. So, I hope y'all had an amazing March, and let's get into it. I started the month off strong watching Living, a film I honestly would not have known existed except it was nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay at the Oscars, but the second I noticed it was written by Kazuo Ishiguro, I knew I had to add it to my watch list. I'm unfamiliar with the source material it was adapted from, but I found this film to be thematically similar to Never Let Me Go, at least in terms of investigating complacency and the expectations in walking along a path that feels pre-written for you. It's a really heartfelt look at getting to the end of your life and realizing you might not have lived it the way you would have liked, and then reclaiming the time you have left. I also think it's criminal this wasn't nominated for cinematography too, because it's gorgeous. It could be deemed slow, but I enjoyed the pace. It felt steady and comforting, and I really adored the entire thing. Then, crossing another Oscar-nominated film off, I watched The Fabelmans, which I think is actually my first Steven Spielberg film, apart from some vague memories of watching E.T. on VHS at my grandmother's house when I was really young. But anyways, I really enjoyed The Fabelmans. I felt like the scenes of his creative interests being referred to as a hobby or being seen only through the lens of how they'd apply to engineering really came for my throat, but it was also so inspiring to watch him embrace himself and his interests despite everything going on around him. And it definitely had me thinking I should watch more of Spielberg's films. Then I watched Decision to Leave and had some mixed feelings about it. On one hand, I really loved the camera work and the cinematography and the way the mystery unfolded. It was slow and methodical and tense, and honestly kind of disorienting, but I wasn't the biggest fan of the romance. Actually, I wasn't the biggest fan of how any of the women were written. The romantic interest that he was falling in love with, though, felt like a figment of a character to me, just an object of his obsession, which I think is in line with the nature of a police film, because obviously it's going to follow the cop's perspective and the investigation he's on. But it wasn't my favorite way to build romance, and it didn't really work for me in that regard. But I thought a lot of it was actually funny. Not sure if that was intentional or not though, or if I'm now at the stage of my life where I'm finding comedy in the crime genre. But honestly, if you love a slow noir police mystery, I think I'd still recommend this. Then I watched Triangle of Sadness, the last Oscar-nominated film I got to see before the awards aired, and despite my brain half expecting Jennifer Coolidge to show up, I enjoyed it. I do think I may have enjoyed it more if I had seen it before White Lotus, or before I saw The Menu, but it's fine. I still found it a funny and engaging dissection of class differences with an interesting relationship at the heart of it, but I'm not sure I'd ever rewatch it. I do also think it was a little long for my tastes, and honestly, maybe this sounds bad, but I'm not totally sure why this was nominated for Best Picture, but I'm sure someone got a lot more out of it than me, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. I mean, honestly, if they didn't have a grudge against horror, I personally would have swapped in Pearl instead of this, but that's just me. Just me. Anyways, then I watched Married by Mistake purely for Chloe Bennet because I will watch anything and everything with her in it. This is a made-for-TV rom-com that she absolutely carries on her back. She really brought her A-game to a script that wasn't my fave. I know it's a rom-com, but I actually enjoyed the angle of Chloe's character doing brand management and trying to reform the store to make it better for employees than I did the actual romance. I don't regret watching it though because I think it made for a really fun movie commentary, so at least there's that. Plus, it is always nice to see Chloe on screen again, and I will never, ever in a million years complain about that. Then I watched Chloe, a film that has nothing to do with Chloe Bennet, but was a ride and a half, I will say that. I think it's supposed to be like a psychological, psychosexual thriller, but it just made me feel like the director wanted to see two women getting it on in front of the camera. The line delivery is painful at times, and I really felt like the ending for one character in particular was incredibly unfair, and Chloe, despite being the titular character and the voiceover narration, was barely fleshed out. It's a shame too, because it actually had a twist I didn't see coming, and I think this script had some real potential to analyze feelings women have around aging, but it never dives deep enough into the characters. I will say though, I did feel like I was getting a glimpse into an alt timeline, because you will not tell me that somewhere in the multiverse, this couple is not played by them. These are the same people in different fonts. I'm convinced. Then I watched Lyle, Crocodile with my family, and I'm not gonna say too much about it because I didn't love it, and that's okay, because it wasn't made for me in the slightest. I went into it expecting a happy singing crocodile film though, and I was not expecting it to be as sad as it was, so it was a little off-putting, to be honest. But I really hope that the audience this is made for loves it. And then I flew to New York to see Oscar Isaac in the sign in Sydney Brustein's window. Look, after the James McAvoy Cyrano, I am not missing a live performance of one of my favorite actors and actresses. On top of that, I have been trying to find a recording of Oscar Isaac's Hamlet forever. I don't think it exists. How do you have Oscar Isaac as Hamlet and no one's recording it? Y'all, I feel like I've been spoiled by the National Theater where they record it, you know, and then they got it on their website and you can watch it at home. It's just a nice experience. But yet the Oscar Isaac Hamlet, it evades me and I will be forever devastated about that, but it's okay. So keeping that in mind, of course, I obviously had to try to get tickets to see his acting live in person during this play, which that was incredible, by the way. His acting, 10 out of 10, of course. It's Oscar Isaac. The play itself I felt like was an incredibly long watch, but even saying that, I can't think of anything that I would cut because truly the slow buildup at the beginning made everything in that last act hit like a truck. I also really enjoyed how it was grappling with apathy and nihilism, but sort of still found a way to remain optimistic by the end. I actually bought the play to read because I was like, I need to have at least a second go through this script because there was just so much packed into it. There was this one part in the play where Sidney near the end goes, don't you understand? The slogans of capitulation can kill. Every time we say live and let live, death triumphs. I really can't wait to go through this story again and sort of just soak it all in and sit with it a bit and really figure out my thoughts and feelings on it, because there's just, when I say there's a lot in this play, like there's a lot. Just a lot to think about, I think if you are gonna watch this or read it though, I would look up the trigger warnings first. As it was though, I enjoyed the entire cast's acting and I am very, very glad I got to go see it. Anyways, then I watched Daisy Jones and the Six, which I absolutely 100% completely, utterly adored. If you haven't seen it yet and you love messy, character-driven found family stories exploring life in the spotlight and also women dealing with fame, I definitely recommend checking it out. I actually enjoyed this adaptation so much more than the book, which isn't something I say often, but I really love how they fleshed out more of the addiction storylines and how Daisy got her life together not because someone told her to or gave her an ultimatum, but because she realized she didn't want to be broken and made that choice to prioritize herself. Daisy's entire character arc was amazing to watch, and I just really, really love how all of the women in the show were written. It was so refreshing to watch them all be there for each other. Every character portrayal just felt so authentic, the relationships felt intimate and relatable, and it was just so emotional and heartfelt, and I loved it so much. Also, the record is just on repeat 24/7, and I will forever hear Daisy going, I am not the muse, I'm the somebody in my head.
I'm not interested in being anybody's muse, Gary, okay? Not yours, not anybody's.
I didn't mean it like that.
I'm not the muse, okay? I'm the somebody.
Just iconic. All of it. Then I watched Handsome Devil, which was an enjoyable and fun look at a queer kid in a boarding school dealing with the homophobia of his classmates and just trying to live his life, make some friends, and embrace himself. It also stars Andrew Scott in his English teacher era, which he absolutely killed, 10 out of 10. Personally, I feel like parts of this film walked so Heartstopper could run, so if you are looking to keep some Heartstopper vibes alive, you might want to try this. It was just a really earnest, funny, heartwarmingly good time, and I'm glad I watched it. Then I watched Exhibition, which was interesting. I think Jenna and I are just now going in chronological order through Joanna Hogg's filmography, and while I think I prefer the pacing of this film a lot more than the other two films of hers I've seen, I actually preferred the subject matter in Archipelago and Unrelated a bit more than this. Like, I know selling a house brings a lot of feelings, and I'm sure probably a lot of this went over my head, but it wasn't my fave. I think maybe because I just felt like the couple could have gone to couples counseling, worked through their issues, and been totally fine after just a session or two. I'm very happy for people who enjoyed it though. And then I watched The Promise, keeping those Oscar Isaac vibes going this month. First, this made me realize I do not know nearly enough about World War I, which is embarrassing, and I need to fix that. I'm actually not sure I ever learned about the Armenian genocide in school, and it was just an incredibly heartbreaking thing to be witnessing on screen here. Narratively though, it did feel a little weird to me to focus so much on a love triangle while there are scenes of people being brutally murdered, and I actually think the film was a lot better when it focused on anything but the romantic drama. Not to say Oscar wasn't a great romantic lead though, because he was. I just preferred every other element more. The relationships between his character and his family, for example, or his determination to be a doctor and dealing with the abrupt change to his life. I do think this was a really hard-hitting, eye-opening, emotional film, and I'm glad I watched it. Anyways, then I ended the month watching Rye Lane, and y'all, This was amazing. The rom-com renaissance is here in full force, and I enjoyed this so much. Two 20-somethings who have recently broken up with their exes have the funniest yet most relatable meet-cute I've seen in a while, and then spend most of the film walking through London and talking. The dialogue is snappy and realistic, and the comedic timing is perfect, which is great because it is a dialogue-heavy film, which I loved, and it's also one of my favorite examples of the classic dynamic where an extrovert adopts an introvert. Over the course of this film, they work through their feelings, regain some confidence, and really get to know each other and themselves. Every character feels real, even the side characters, and this whole thing just has this authentic creative energy that I loved. It feels wholly personal and original, and yet relatable at the same time, and I definitely recommend it if you love a good rom-com. And that's it. That's my March. I feel like this, Rye Lane, and probably Living were my favorites of the month. Also, just because these came in yesterday and I really want to share them with someone, but look what came in for the Eras tour. I am very excited. That is just in a week. It's in like a week or two. But something about these just like, it's not a vibe. Maybe it just doesn't fit my face properly. Something about the heart shape is just not fitting. I guess I need to figure out the rest of my outfit and see if it goes, but you know, that's coming up. Anyways, that is so unrelated to literally everything, and has nothing to do with what I watched in March. But I hope you all had a really great March. I hope you guys watched some amazing things, and I hope you guys have a great April coming up. Thank you if you sat around listening for this long. I really appreciate you guys. Also, if you feel like it, go check out the Daisy Jones videos because I put a lot of time and effort into those. And just the show needs more attention. I do not know how it is not getting more hype around it, but that is neither here nor there. Anyways, I hope you guys liked this video. Give it a big thumbs up if you did, and subscribe if you want more movie and fandom related content, and I will see you guys for the next one. Thanks for watching. See ya.